at times, life or death. It's pretty much just kind of like praying that your talents will take you to the next gig.
I'm Ray Licardo, and this is Big Little Dreams, a show where we explore the extraordinary journeys of entrepreneurs who break the mold. What happens when life throws you a curveball? For Alpha, losing her job became the push that she needed. Now she's the founder of Sweet Fuss Hair and Makeup in Cloud9 Cryo in Long Beach, helping people feel as fabulous as they look. In this episode, Alpha shares how she transitioned from banking to beauty, the challenges of breaking the mold in a traditional Filipino household, and the balancing act of being an entrepreneur, wife, and mother. She spills the tea on the struggles of building a business, the reality of financial uncertainty, and the moments that made her believe in herself. I'm excited to share this episode full of laughs and smiles. Alpha, welcome to the show.
Alpha, thanks for joining. I really appreciate you coming on today.
So happy to be here with you, Ray.
Yeah, me too. Tell me more about your background. Tell the listeners, where you're from and what you're doing now and how you got there.
Nationally, I am from the Philippines. I was born in the Philippines and brought to the States when I was about 2 years old. I traveled a lot when I was a little kid because my dad was in the Navy, and so I traveled a lot within the United States. But most of my life was based in the Bay Area, and now I live in Southern California. So this is my home, this is my hub, and this is where I base everything that I do now from now on until whatever brings new ventures out to whatever happens next.
Yeah, exciting.
Yeah.
Come on, Bay Area. We love that.
Bay Area.
Hey.
707.
Yeah. And when did you move from the Bay Area to SoCal?
I moved from the Bay Area to SoCal when I graduated from San Jose State, and I think that was back in 2016. I moved to Temecula, and I was still in the banking industry. And most of my life was spent in the Bay Area up in Vallejo, 707. And
Yes.
Ever since I moved out here and met my husband, I've been based out of like Cerritos, Norwalk area.
That was the one thing that me and you connected with at the very beginning, was that we were from the Bay.
Right.
And also you went to San Jose State, because that's where I grew up in San Jose. So that's really cool.
Yes, swirly.
Yeah. What was your community like in Vallejo, and then transferring that over to San Jose? Was there anything that kind of shaped your ideas while you were growing up there or going to college?
When I grew up in the Bay Area, my immediate family was based in Vallejo, and my extended family was out in San Jose, Fremont. My extended family is mostly from my mom's side, so we had a really huge extended family, and we were super close to them. And because we moved around a lot when we were kids, we were never really that tight until we moved to Vallejo. And so when I moved from Vallejo when I moved out, I lived in San Jose for a little bit and then moved out to Vallejo. We still had that extended family, the aunties, the uncles, the cousins. And it was a really, really tight knit family because we're Filipino and we have big, huge family parties and get togethers. It was hard to leave it after I moved out from Vallejo, Northern California to Southern California.
Is everyone still in the Bay? And you're the only one who moved down from your family?
You know what? My parents are moved down to Escondido because my dad was in the military and he moved to Escondido. They bought a house like about, I want to say like 30 years ago. My twin sister Omega is still out in Danville, and my huge immediate family is still spread out in the Bay Area. And I am the only one of all the cousins who are here in Southern California.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. Like you.
And yeah, like me, I'm the only one here. So I still go visit from time to time. While you were in the Bay, what did you study in San Jose State? Did you know that you were going to get into the beauty space, or this was?
At San Jose State, I actually studied TV broadcast journalism with a minor in poli-sci. Wow. And I would have never, ever, ever imagined that I would go into entrepreneurship or as a business owner, because I was steadfast into moving myself into something that had something to do with broadcasting or being out in the open with the public. I just so happened during when I was in school, I was in banking. So I was a teller. And so when I moved to SoCal, that's what I was doing part-time. And so I decided my last year of college is that I didn't want to go into journalism or broadcast journalism anymore just because it was so cutthroat and that wasn't my personality. So I decided to
Mm.
just finish, get my degree, and I moved up to Southern California and I went to the banking industry because that's what I knew from working. And I just so happened to fall into several jobs and never, ever, ever thought of like a business life.
Yeah, yeah. And how did that then turn into wanting to start a new business, or is this your first business?
This is my first business. So
Wow.
the reason why I went into business is because when I lost my job, I lost it. Um, it's probably like my second job in the banking industry, and I lost it because of some mishap. And I was super devastated because I love working with my clients. I love my boss, my partners that were in my job, and my husband, who was once my boyfriend at that time, he asked me, what do you love? And I said, I love hair and makeup. And so he encouraged me to go back to school, which I did. I went to cosmetology school back in Temecula. So I went to Paul Mitchell in
Mm.
a very, very late stage of my life, considering like, you know, what you think late is. And from that, I decided that I want to do hair and makeup artistry. And from that, I decided that I want to do hair and makeup design. And I started my business in 2008 when I graduated, got my license, and I've been doing it for almost like 16 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank
I
you.
love that. Did you face any like specific challenges that you can remember going into makeup and hair before starting your business?
I think the biggest challenges that I had when I graduated from Paul Mitchell is that
Hmm.
I just don't like interpersonally, I didn't have that like kind of business mindset that I could be able to do something that was venturing out on my own and not having a stable financial situation. I didn't know because it's not your regular route when you come from an Asian family that's transported from the Philippines to the stateside. And so I think my biggest qualm was kind of digging deep inside to kind of figure out, am I ready for this? Like what am I expecting or what does this really entail to be a business person?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did you then kind of look past that? How did you then move forward from those challenges that you saw?
I think it was a lot for my husband because he's very
Mm.
business mind savvy and he encouraged me to kind of dig deep and just keep pushing, which I normally am not used to because I just kind of go with the flow and kind of let things happen. But he kind of just reaches beyond like what I think I'm capable of, and he encourages me to do that. And also just knowing that there was something more besides what I was like thinking, because that's what I was so used to is like something so stringent because my dad was in the
Yeah.
military, is that there's something beyond what I'm currently looking at. And if I just keep pushing, I can reach that.
Did you feel like your upbringing with your dad being in the military that helped you be where you're at now? Because I know there's a lot of like things where Filipino Americans who have like military background, there's a lot of like discipline involved.
I think my dad's discipline, he wasn't around a lot when I was a little kid. So
Mm.
my twin sister and I were very much latchkey kids. So we were learning how to do things on our own. My mom was an RN, so she was constantly working, not there with us all the time, which I'm sure both my parents wish they could be. But I think I was lucky enough to have Omega, my twin sister, with me. And we learned how to navigate and to be more independent and to kind of just like figure out things on our own,
Mm.
even without with like the full support of our parents because they were working so hard with us. I think with the discipline of us being able to do that without them constantly there, like how a lot of our kids, my kids are now constantly like, oh, my parents are going to be there. They're going to help me through this and
Yeah.
that. We didn't have that. So I think us navigating through that made us stronger to be able to pursue whatever it is that we decided to pursue. Even if it wasn't like the military or nursing, which was
Yeah.
typical for like Filipino families.
Yeah. Especially in the Bay.
For sure.
Um, yeah. Because my uncle, I almost went to the Navy. There were so many signs for me to go that route, but I was like, I don't. It was that nursing and then engineering. Those were
So
like the top three
why didn't you go any of those routes?
because I love art. I'm a huge creator, and like when I was in Singapore, I was enrolled into like a bunch of like music classes and art school. So my
Your own volition or like your parents' choice?
parents' choice, but I fell in love with art and music like early on.
Amazing.
And then when I moved here, it was all like a little bit more different. It was more like set to more like an educational base, and I was like, this is weird.
Yeah, you're like,
Um,
where's my artsy fartsy side?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So then I grew up in a interesting like seesaw of like, should I go more of like the professional route? Well, I mean, art, obviously there's professional, but, and I would even argue like for sure, like beauty and hair and makeup is absolutely art. So I think coming from like a very kind of like open-minded like childhood and then going into something more like dedicated to like a craft almost is hard to go by, and I still kind of struggle between like, do I have to go back to like a regular job or keep my interior design business going? So
Me too, because it's not like consistent paycheck. You don't know
no.
where your money's going to come from if you don't have clients, if you don't have work. It's not
Oh
a
my gosh, tell the listeners that.
So let me just tell you, one of the biggest things is that like naturally, I like to know where my money's coming from. And I like to know that I'm going to get paid on this week and this much. But because I become my own business person, I become an entrepreneur, it's been kind of like at times life or death. It's pretty much just kind of like praying that your talents will take you to the next gig. And I think that's a big thing is to just kind of labor through that and believe that what you are doing at the moment, because every moment is different, every phase of your life is different, that it will take you to be able to be financially prosperous, financially stable. But it's really, really challenging as an entrepreneur and as a business owner. It's not easy.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because I think a lot of people who are going into entrepreneurship think that like, oh, it's all just like flowers and rainbows on the
For
other
sure.
end.
And it is
You got to
not.
work hard.
Yeah, you work your ass off. You are not just going into a 9 to 5 job. You are the backbone. You are the secretary. You are the planner. You are the worker. You are the everything that goes into what business you put your heart into. And it
Hmm.
takes everything out of you. And it's very challenging, but also very rewarding.
Yes.
Um, Yes, very rewarding, but at the same time, you kind of question it, like when you're going through the process and you're going through the years of you doing this, especially for me, I've questioned it, but
Hmm.
feel like I make so many people happy. I meet so many amazing people like Ray,
Thank
and
you.
um it's challenging to leave it, but I think people need to realize how much work goes into being an entrepreneur and a business owner because it's not easy. You're not
Yeah,
making money 24/7. If you don't have clients, you don't make money.
that is true. Yeah,
Yep.
and you got to hustle for it. It's like you
Yeah.
can like chill for a second, but you need to have the discipline to just be like, okay, I'm going to get back up
Yep.
and get this done. Because if I don't do it, then yeah, I'll be broke.
Because you don't make the moolah.
No, ma'am. It's interesting that now that we're talking about like all the different hats that entrepreneurs have, like now that you're a wife as well and you have kids, like if you were to go back like a couple years ago, it probably would have been interesting like balance, right? Because you're just you're on your own, and it was just you and your boyfriend at the time, but now husband. How has that changed, and how are you balancing life now with all these different things that you need to do?
Balancing life as a mom and a wife and a business owner and trying to keep my sanity has been so challenging throughout the years. I've had my business over 16 years and I think it's a learning process like everything else. I think it's a learning process with like relationships and you kind of figure out how does it work, what makes it work, what does not make it work, what's the kinks. It's been a challenge and it still is a challenge. Like my kids are getting older. I have a 16 and 11-year-old. And so having like a high school kid and almost junior high child, and having my husband who's my baby, it's and trying to run two businesses, it's very challenging just because you cannot find time for yourself. And I think trying to accommodate everybody to make them happy has been the hardest thing. And also just trying to make the money and making the bills has been
Mm,
very challenging as well. And it's never easy just because, money in all relationships becomes an issue just because, I mean, people say that money makes all things better, but it really isn't. At the same time, the money issues in a relationship really does challenge couples to figure out how are we going to do this, especially if you're not making an instant income.
yeah.
Like an
Yeah.
income that that's coming in. And
Mm,
so like try to balance the financial side, the emotional side. It's been a really hard thing for me to balance, but I'm trying to find that balance. It's getting better because my kids are getting older, but I can only imagine with entrepreneurs who have children who are much younger than my kids, that it is a challenge that I think any parent, even if you're not an entrepreneur, is very challenging when you're trying to balance love, relationship, and just work life. So I mean, I cannot give any sound advice because everybody's situation is different, but I think you just need to put through it. Find time for yourself is number one. And
mm.
also don't think that everybody else needs to go before you because you become first when you can take care of everybody else.
Yes, yeah. And I feel like from what I see on your feed on Instagram and also like when we do catch up, you have a good balance of going to vacations. I think that's really important too. Like taking time with your family and like taking time away from your business to really relax and not like think about it for like a couple weeks. I need to do that for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're right. It's important. You have to kind of think about yourself for a lot of the time because you have to put yourself at the very forefront of like
For sure.
um of your business by taking care of who you are as a person and your mental health and all that stuff. So it is a balance. It's a very hard balance to kind of figure that out.
For
um
sure. I think I think we tend to forget about ourselves when we have a significant other, kids, a
mhm.
husband, or anything like that. Um, I've tried to think about going away on my own, but I feel guilty. It's like the mom and like wife
Oh
guilt.
yeah.
But honestly, if you are not good with yourself, then you cannot take care of everybody else at 100%. And that's not fair to everybody else. So I think you need to be selfish sometimes and really, really just dig in and do you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting to, I think one of the things I wanted to kind of discuss here is we didn't even mention his name yet, but Tony, your
My
husband
husband.
is also an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
So, how is that in the household? Two entrepreneurs kind of going for the same goal or the dream to own your own businesses. How do you balance that from being a wife or a couple and then like talking about like different business?
So it's interesting because we both are Leos. His birthday's on July
Hmm.
26th. He's like the beginning of Leoism. And I'm August 8th, which is kind of a little bit farther off.
Yeah.
We're both Leos, so we're both very fiery, both very driven. But Tony, I don't know his mind, right? Like he has a completely different mindset where he's so complete. He was a big like tennis star, like back in his like high school and tennis days. I had no clue who this guy was because I was up in Northern California. He was out here, but
Mm.
he has such a driven persona about him that whatever he wants, he's going to get. And his mindset about business is completely the opposite of mine. I would have never ever dreamed that I would become an entrepreneur or a business owner. And when we do have our conversations about business, sometimes I don't want to hear it because I'm the creative.
Yeah.
And so he's like, you could do this and this and this and this. And I'm like, not right now. Like I don't want to hear it. I don't want to, like
Yeah, you're like,
we
I don't like the strategy.
like I'm like I just don't want to hear it right now. Is like, can we talk about it later when I'm like not sleeping? But he has a completely different mindset, and people have that, right? But people like me who are not set to think like business minded, are creatives, have a completely different mindset, and I accept that. But when we get into the house and he's trying to give me ideas about how to make my business better, and he's redone my websites, he's the person why I'm like booming in my business. It's because of him. He was the reason why I started my business. It's because of him. He pushed me to get to start Sweet Plus Hair and Makeup Artistry, to start Cloud9 Cryo. And it without him, I would not be where I am right now. And so I appreciate everything that he's given me. But at the same time, there are times where I hear him saying, let's do this and that, or you could do that. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. So there's all those conversations where like I'm like, he's not, so it's different because we have a different perspective on how we want to pursue our careers and like what we're
Mm.
doing. And I'm just too lazy to listen to it. I just don't
Well, it
want to hear
sounds
it.
like it
It's too
sounds like you guys have a good balance though, the two different like mindsets.
much.
Because then
Sometimes,
you can balance him out on the
yo,
creativity side.
slow down. Let me have my cocktail.
Yeah, you're like, we need to make sure we take care of ourselves.
Me.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, he did a great job with like your website and all the marketing and stuff that he's been doing. So congrats on that. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's because of him. Like he asked me, I have to do all the little stuff, like give him information about it, what we want written on it. But he's amazing at like doing websites. He's amazing at doing marketing. He's advertising, all of that. But sometimes I just want to be involved. I'm more like,
Yes.
okay, for the people, let me like work with my clients, and then you do all the rest.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, here it is. Before we get into our last couple of questions here, so if you were to go back and give your younger self advice, especially when you were first starting out as a business owner, or even college, really, what would it be?
If I were to go back and give myself some advice when I was younger, I think it would be number one, don't party too much, but also enjoy yourself. But most importantly, going into my business, I think the most important things is to have faith in yourself and to really push yourself to believe that there's something beyond what you seeing in the immediate future. And it's really hard to do that just because we are so accustomed to believing that what we're doing right now is supposed to be all our future. But honestly, from me coming from a broadcast journalism major or a degree to something that is beyond what the scope that I would have ever imagined, owning a business, doing hair and makeup, owning my own studio, doing cryo treatments. I think that beyond the years that you see in front of you, there are so many layers that you grow from and that you become a different person in all those years. And that all the things that you can do are beyond the scope that we see in the narrow side of like what's currently in front of you. So just reach beyond that. Don't believe that you can't do anything that you currently don't think you can do, and know that there is so much beyond what is currently in front of you. And I think that was the hardest thing for me because um I was in a family that was built around like rigidity and
Mm.
what you need to do. This is what we think you should do because my dad was in the military, my mom was a nurse, and we think you should go this route. They never pushed us to do that. But I think because we were so like kind of squared out into that space, there is so many things that you can do beyond what you are currently seeing around you.
Yeah. You have to always have, I mean, I've spoken to a lot of entrepreneurs, and the main thing that a lot of people talk about is just having that blind faith and making sure like what you're doing now is actually going to become something
And
exciting
blind
for
faith
you in
is
your life.
really scary. It's like it's like meeting somebody I've never done it because I met my husband through our work
Mm.
system. But blind
Hmm.
faith is like going on an app and saying, "Oh, this guy's really cute, and I'm gonna just hit him up and say, hey, let's go on a date." That's blind faith. And when it works out, and then he's like, and you guys are amazing together. That's blind faith. And it's like when you go and start your own business and you work really, really, really hard to make it something. That's blind faith. And it's really scary. It's really hard, never easy, but super gratifying and super fulfilling. And that's what I feel like my businesses have done for me is like jumping into blind faith and making it into something amazing. Even though it's never going to be easy, there's going to be challenges, just like your relationship. Blind faith brings you to something that's beyond what you're currently seeing. And I'm so beyond grateful to have all my clients, all the experiences that I've had going into entrepreneurship.
Amazing. Well, thank you for saying that.
For
I love
sure.
that so much. And I think a lot of people would really appreciate you saying that as well. So now we're toward the end of our conversation here, and we've got a segment on the show called Spill the Tea.
Okay.
And I've asked you before this call to have a drink prepared.
I have water.
I have water as well in my mug.
Are you sure it's not alcohol?
Well, I wish it was. It's Friday, girl, and I need happy hour to start today, right
Cheers.
now. Cheers. So I'm going to ask you a series of some quick fire rapid questions, maybe some personal ones, some professional. If you decide to answer the questions and spill the tea, you do not need to drink. But if you don't want to answer, you go ahead and just sip the cup, your
Okay.
Stanley cup.
Okay.
Okay, first one. Who is your favorite cringe influencer? This is cringe influencer that you low-key love following.
I have a French influencer. Honestly, I just kind of scroll through Instagram and all those things.
Yeah.
Cringe. I do like watching TMZ. Does that count?
Yes. That's funny. If you were to pick one viral meme to describe your entrepreneurial journey, what would it be?
God, you're making me think really hard. I don't know.
All good. I think the meme one is a little bit like
I gotta think. I
niche.
watched so many memes. My husband Tony sends me so many memes that I'm like, but those are like wife memes.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. No, I don't know. So let me drink.
Yeah. What was your biggest fake it till you make it moment with your business?
Fake it till I make it. I think it was my first fake it to make it moment was when I first booked my first commercial shoot.
Mm.
And it was for, I think it was Supercut. And I had to they asked to have like pictures of my hands and like pictures like this because it was going to be part of the shoot, but I also had to do hair and makeup. And I was part of the shoot. So all you saw was my hands doing this, like pretending to cut, pretending to color. And I had never been on a commercial shoot. So I faked it until I baked it. And that moment, that commercial shoot helped me land all the commercial shoots that I have ever been on since 2008.
My God, I love that. Amazing.
Yes. That was my fake it to make it moment.
Love that so much. Wow.
Yes.
Alpha, thank you so much for joining. That was the last question we had here. I had so much fun discussing your background and your business. And that last piece of tea was amazing. Thank you again for joining, and tell the listeners how we can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at Sweet Fuss, or you can look me up on www.sweetfuss.com, and I am available. Oh, I also have Cloud9 Cryo, so at Cloud9Cryo on Instagram and www.cloud9cryo.com. And I'm so grateful that you asked me to be part of your podcast, Ray. I'm so happy for you, and good luck on your venture.
Thank you. Yay. That was it. See, easy. Easy.
Yay.
So easy.
I love you.